Hey everybody, it's Monster back again with Opus Gaming, and I'm here today to bring you a little bit of OP02 playtesting. This is going to be a match between me and my teammate, me on blue Ivankov, and my teammate Tusa on his red Zoro deck. So this matchup is actually pretty interesting. It's really, it's been really cool learning Ivankov in general. Learning blue as a color is really fun because I didn't play very much blue at all in OP01. I played a little bit of purple blue croc. And that's about as extensive as my blue testing had gone in OP01, so it's been pretty fun. But here we kind of set up to figure out who's going first and who's going second. But really quickly, in the meantime, if you guys aren't subbed, drop a sub down below. We're almost to our first 500 subscribers, and when we do get there, we're going to be dropping our giveaway details, so for our 1000 subscriber giveaway. So leave a sub, drop a like, leave a comment, help us continue to jump on the algorithm and continue to grow. But let's jump into this gameplay. On the Ivankov side, we're going to be going first, and we're going to tap one and just get a new Kama land on turn one. That's like Onigashima for blue. Essentially, you really want to find that, and having it be early for just one Dawn is really nice because I'll be using that all game. Going over to the red player side, we see him go into a Nami, search top 5, and let's see what he finds. Here I'm assuming this isn't like old school red Zoro where you're just looking for rush characters. So we pick up the Brook here for a 2k counter, which is really powerful to have that extra defense. And I believe we do pick up a Zoro here. That would be smart. No, we're going to get a Sunny. So the Sunny's going to provide really good utility, essentially, just for one cost. It's going to end up being a pretty good attacker for the deck. So going back over to blue side, we're going to Dawn up to 3. Tapping down one Dawn right away to start off with a Buggy. I think here we're starting to look for our 7 Dawn turn cards. So that's going to be 1 Luffy, 1 Ivankov, and we find an Ivankov right away. We're just like, yeah, sure, that's fine. We might have one in hand. That might be the issue. So we're going to draw an additional card and then trash one with new Kama land. It's going to be the Ivankov, so we definitely had one in hand. You see us... Oh, we're going to play the other event, Impel All-Stars down. So we're really cycling through trying to get to our proper turn 7, and then we'll just build a hand from there. But we'll see what we do here, and then we're just going to attach down an attack for 6. That's not too bad of a start. I cycle through a lot of cards. I get my hand size to where I don't have to be ditching a lot of extra cards. I did ditch a couple cards with the Impel All-Stars down, and that's a card that I'm testing right now. We're not sure if we're going to keep it in the list, but after a couple games, sometimes it feels really good, sometimes it just doesn't feel all too impactful. For red, on their turn, they're just going to go with a swing from the leader, tap 3, play out a Nico, and tap 1 and play out a Sunny. So that's not a bad turn at all. Going up to 5 Dawn on the Ivankov player side. Let's see how we go about this turn. So when you're on 5 Dawn, that's your last turn to get whatever pieces you're missing for your turn 7 plays. So we're probably going to see a little bit more cycle from me on this turn. Swinging with leader for 5 and then thinking about it on the red player side, and we're going to take it just for extra resources in the hand. Yep, we'll tap 4 to play out a blocker, and then tap 1 and play out another Buggy. Buggy's definitely going to be looking for a Luffy, and we'll see what we take here. Oh, I think the only option we have is picking up the Deathwing here, so that's actually kind of unfortunate because we don't have the Dawn to play it, but we'll pass turn on that. Going up to 6 Dawn on the red player's turn, or the red player's side here. Looks like he's going to start off... Actually, he's not sure what he's going to do. This is a good turn for him. Nothing he wants to do is going to be all too expensive, so... Okay, so we'll attach Dawn onto Nico, tap 4, and reduce my blocker down to 3k with the Law effect, and then we'll sing 6k at lead. We'll pop the blocker with the Nico Robin effect, and then I'm staring down 6k. Here we counter out to 7, and then we get another swing, and we counter out again. Putting on a good aggression here, and then we just pass turn. You got 2 cards out of my hand, and you cracked an important blocker that I spent my entire turn playing, so that was the biggest part of my last turn. Alright, we'll see if we have the 7 Dawn Ivankov into Luffy play on this turn. This is pretty important for the Ivankov curve. Starting off with a swing into the Nico Robin, and he chooses to save it. We will tap new common land. Tap new common land and draw one, discarding the Deathwink we picked up last time. And then I think I'm just thinking about whether I'm discarding extra cards or what the first card I'm going to put onto the board is. We can still tap out 7 here and play something like a blocker. That would still be a pretty strong turn, but we'll see what we do. So we do tap 7, and we do play out the Luffy. Okay, so we did have the combo. We ended up getting there in the end. That's going to really just represent our turn. We're low on cards in hand. Well, actually, that's not going to end our turn. We're going to discard for the Luffy to bounce the Nico Robin back to hand, so we can cycle 2 new cards, because I think one of the cards in our hand is dead. Yeah. And we won't be able to utilize that event card. So drawing 2 cards, we do get 2 counters, which is nice, but let's see how the rest of our turn progresses. So he dons up. He has a lot of don this turn, and he is going to be in a pretty controlling board state. He has the option to kind of just like either go for life and do a bit of damage, or honestly he can just play even bigger cards or just chip at me a little bit. Attach 3 onto Nami and just swing 5. Make sure that he gets a check off this turn, or I guess just 2 onto Nami, 1 onto leader. But let's see how he chooses to aggress. Dividing up his Don, it looks like, yep, 1 Don goes on to leader, followed by tapping 1 for the Makino to make the Sunny 7k, because he gets plus 3k and then 1k from leader. 7k to leader, I just take it for an extra card in hand. I think I did have a 2k in hand, but that would have opened me up to like a floodgate of attacks, since I didn't have anything in hand after that, and it would have been a little bit too easy for him to continue to push at that point. Going up to 3 cards at hand and 2 cards in life. No, that's 3. Yep, you see a counter out of the next attack. And here it's just a lot of value, just because you just keep pulling things out of my hand. I can really, if I want to resolve Luffy's effect on the next turn, I only have 1 more card in my hand to play with, because I need to draw 1 card for a turn to have 2. And the red player knows that, Tusa knows that, so he's really going to be deciding how he wants to either pull the card from my hand, or does he give me another card in hand after that, because he can get me really low on life on this turn unless he sees a really powerful trigger in my life. So let's see what he does. And then we're also swinging 6, yeah. So we're going to counter out of the 6k. Puts me down to 1 card in hand. Are we going to continue to burn some of the Dawn and turn our cards sideways? We do have the Nami. Nami can get in there pretty easily for 5 at this stage, just because I only have 1 card in hand. Here I'm actually making a comment to one of our friends that are hanging out about how the real reason that we're playing Impel Down is for the trigger effect, and then also just playing it with Perona on turn 2 turn 1 going second, so that you can kind of really get your build of hands going and finding your important pieces, even though you lose a card technically. We're gonna see a 6k swing and we just have to take it. Yep. And that makes it a lot easier for him to defend. He doesn't have to hold the Zoro in hand, and it's established on the board. So we'll see how we do this turn. I think this turn is going to really be a defensive turn. I think the biggest thing is just swinging Luffy into life, and then using everything else to clear up the board a little bit. So I think here we do a couple of the easy steps first, which is like swinging Buggy into the Nami. Yep, just a 2k. And then after that, we're swinging 5 into 3, which I think is a really good threshold to be, just because we want to rip cards out of our opponent's hand, or at least we just want to tear this board apart. So here I'm thinking about where I want to swing, whether I want to swing life or swing at one of these characters, because one of them's going to have to get bounced back to hand, and I opt to go with the Law, because at least, even though it's giving my opponent more utility, that might not be the correct choice, but it's giving my opponent more utility, taking away a little bit less of their aggression, and then forcing them to commit Dawn to use that card again. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I could just swing into the Law here, but it would be a lot easier for him to defend from this point unless I put a lot of Don onto Luffy. So we'll see what we do, but the 2 cards in my hand aren't as usable as well, so I think that swinging life, pitching, putting enough Don on to make sure that Luffy does damage. Yep, and that's what we're doing. So we're gonna swing 12 here with Luffy at life, pitch 2, and bounce the law back. It was a decent play here. Like I was saying earlier, I'm kind of learning how to play through blue and what how to utilize the blue package. So making these decisions and looking back at them is kind of how I'm going to be learning how to get better at this deck. So, and then let's see. Yep, pass turn after that. So we're leaving 1 Don up, which makes me wonder if we could have just attached the Don onto the buggy and swung 3k into the Rested Sunny, so we had an extra 5k swing for the turn, just kind of like toggling in there. We'll see if that 1 Don does come up for blue. So here on the red player side, he's doing the easy steps too, swinging into Nami, and then we're tapping 9, bringing out Edward Newgate, pumping up the Zoro by 2. So now the Zoro's 7, and then we'll see where the Zoro swings for the turn. It'll probably be into Ivankov, or I guess technically it would be into Luffy, but either one of them, yeah. And then it's just going to force me to discard a card, yeah, from hand. And then, yeah, pass turn. So here, he just makes sure that he's, like, powerful. He has a really big hand. He's on 1 life here, and he can afford to take a life and then dump everything on top of a 7k leader just to make sure that he survives and then push for game on the next turn. So we'll see what I do to combat that. Let's see if we have any, like, really big blocker plays that we can make on this turn, but I think we have to do some of the easy plays to start this out and swing the buggy into the Nami, but we'll see what we do. We're getting pretty late into the game, so this is where you kind of have to really decide how you're going to go about what you're going to do and just make sure you do it properly. So starting off and swinging 7 into 7 just to pull a card out of our opponent's hand. He only had 1 Don up, so we knew that he didn't have like a Red Hawk or anything like that, so we just swung with the leader. We should be just swinging the buggy into the Nami. Yep, perfect. I don't think that you save that. I don't think it's really worth it because it costs so much Don to make it an attacker, unless you need a certain number of cards on board, but we'll see. Because swinging 7 into 2 doesn't really... Just because I don't know if I can push for game this turn. Even though I do have a lot of Don, he has way too many cards in hand and a Don up, so I don't really have the like go tall ability in my toolbox, and I'm not wide enough to push like a really wide attack into 7k. So we'll see how I choose to go about this. So he did counter out of that, and I think it's just a force because I only have a certain amount of attackers left and I don't have a way to restand my blocker. We do know that he does have the Newgate as well as that Law in hand to pop my blocker, so we'll see if that ends up coming up. But not wanting to give cards in hand yet, we're going to swing 7 into 2. Can't defend that, so that one's definitely going to die there unless he really wants to defend it with like a guard point and then 2/2ks. But I don't think that would. Maybe he's pulling out a guard point and more cards. I don't think you do it. You have all the extra resources, but I don't think you throw it away on Nami, because I will be able to swing pretty big if I do tap 7 for another Ivankov. Yeah, just let it go. Holding the cards in defense there is just like really it's really good because it makes it almost impossible for me to fully mount a proper attack. If you burn the attacks on a 2k though, that would have been a lot easier to deal with. Here you definitely take it because you know that you can you're kind of like pushing for game either that turn or the turn after that. So we're gonna attack with Luffy. We're gonna resolve effects so we can pick up 2 new cards. We're hoping to pick up a Deathwing. I can't tell if we did pick it up here though. The big thing with Deathwing here is that it would still get us out of 1 full attack, like almost for sure. Especially with the effect, even if our opponent goes really tall, you counter with the whatever character card you have in hand first, resolve the Deathwing, and then you're picking up 2 new cards while being very high already. And we don't play too many, well, we do actually play a high event count, so we'll see. But here for Tusa, on the red player side, at this point in the game, you with access to Edward Newgates, and I have so many suspended character cards, and I have a low hand size, you really do think about just playing the second Edward Newgate, or you think about clearing my board and just pushing through with a high amount of with power. And I think both of them are reasonable routes to go. Playing the Newgate here is crazy good though, just because you do have the guard point in hand. So you tap 9, play the Newgate, you have a huge hand. You play out a card from your hand that doesn't have counter, and that's the big part that is important. You do make a huge impact on the board. You do a lot for your board state, but you don't lose any defensive capabilities, as opposed to looking at things like tapping 4 to play Law, attaching 2 onto Newgate. You do swing there, you crack my blocker, and then you open yourself up to attach 4 onto your leader and swing. But what if I do have an event and then I just get out of that attack, and then you're just kind of open for me to swing back into you? That is kind of just like being like, well, they have to have it out of their 2 cards that they have in hand. But looking at tapping 9, playing the Newgate with a big hand, is just like looking at what happened last turn where I just wasn't really able to get anywhere. And if he takes away one of my big bodies, like if he swings 7 into Luffy, I'm just in a really rough, or not 7 into Luffy, but 10 into Luffy, I'm in a bad space. So the red player has a really important decision to make here. So it looks like we're picking up 9 Don though, so I do think playing the Newgate is definitely the right answer here. So ping Zoro by 2k, as well as have a free 10k that doesn't have to swing into the leader here. So let's see what he does. Things like the buggy are almost non threats, just because they take 5 Dawn to pump up and swing, and that's half the Dawn that your opponent has access to. So he doesn't even really have to think about that. So he either forces me to, he'll probably swing, I'm assuming 10 into Ivankov first. Because if he swings into my life or anything like that, I'll definitely take it in order to try and protect something, or to make sure that I have like enough big swingers for the next turn, right? So we're swinging 7 somewhere. Okay, we're gonna take the life, and then I think we're gonna try to defend this next swing actually. Well, unless he just doesn't swing. So where does the 10k go? Giving me the extra card, if that was like a 2k, if he does swing 10k into the Ivankov, if I picked up a 2k and had a 2k in my hand, I'm now able to defend the Ivankov while also keeping my blocker on board, which would be huge for me, but unfortunate because I won't have the defense. But we do have to block here, so we do lose a body on board. We don't have as many cards to attack with, and we're low on cards in hand. Let's see how we deal with this situation here. I think the defensive play of the second Newgate was really powerful there, just because this turn it doesn't look as easy, right? Because last turn it was going to be like pretty survivable at the end of the day, no matter what he did. And I think that looking into this turn, I was looking pretty strong, able to just kind of finish it off on a 5k leader with 2 7k bodies. But this is completely different now that it's a 7k to 7k. It's just like having a couple 5ks on board, and even though you have a lot of Don, your opponent has a lot of defense in their hand. So this isn't old red where they just have nothing but rush. This is new red with a lot of utility, and it's very scary. So here we're kind of like just toggling back and forth. Well, we have the option to, we're playing the Perona. What we're looking for is to finish our turn with 3 Dawn up and make sure that we're drawing into a Deathwink. But at this stage of the game, last turn Deathwink would have been absolutely like game changing. At this point in the game, it's a little bit too late. Our opponent has too much advantage and too big of bodies on board with 2 10ks just kind of standing there. So we'll see what we do here. I don't think we try to clear a body just because it's impossible to clear a body with that big of hand. So we would rather drain hand and go for a leader. So we're swinging 12 here. We actually make a mistake here because we do have an Impel All-Stars, and we rearrange our order with the Perona for a certain sequence of cards. But he lets us all roll it back, so we should have swung 1 Dawn less, so we have enough Dawn to resolve the event card. It doesn't make a big deal because he has so many different counter costs in hand, so he just switches a 2k for a 1k, and we're going to roll that back, and we'll see why, so that we have enough cards to discard here. So 1 Dawn less for the attack, and then we're going to tap the 1 Dawn, and we're going to play out the Impel down All-Stars. What this does is it assures us to be able to get down to that Deathwing because we pick up 2 cards, and we pass turn with 3 Dawn up here. I guess the other way to have done that would have just been discarding an extra 2 cards with the Luffy on that attack, and then we'll just draw 2 off the leader at the end turn. But we ended up rolling it back like that in real time. But here the game is pretty much sewed up, though we knew that we weren't going to be able to finish up the game on that turn. And then here, I think that any way that you do a 10 Dawn attachment, it works, whether you do 20k with a new gate or 15k with a with your leader. Just because our friend Muchi kind of broke it down like this: if you go 15 with the lead, right, and I tap 3, or I discard a 2k, go to 7, tap 3, go up to 13, draw 2 2ks, counter out to 15, and then counter out to 17, right? I get out of the first attack, but I have no way of getting out of the 10k, so it just doesn't matter. Even if I was able to climb up, right, in a theoretical world up to 11k over the 10k swings here, it was just so hard from that situation. So even though we rolled it back, we just kind of wanted to put out a situation where at least like we could see if the defensive capabilities of the Deathwing were enough to get you there. But against that board state, it just wasn't. I think playing out Newgate with Zoro and with these new red leaders is so crazy. Newgate is such a powerful card, that's why it's so expensive. Pinging your leader by 2k for the turn, and then pairing that with like possible triggers that ping your leader by another 1k, or possible triggers or possible defensive cards like guard point, that's easy, radical beam, that's really powerful. 2k counters in your hand go so much further when your leader is so much more powerful than what your opponent is swinging with. And then even in situations like this against the blue Ivankov matchup, when their most powerful cards are base stat 7k, you're turning the board that they built into just a board of a bunch of basically 3ks and 5ks, because 5ks and 7ks don't push damage onto your opponent like in the same threshold. So I think that red has a really powerful package with it, and I think I have a lot to learn with the blue deck. So we're gonna keep on grinding, we're gonna keep on building. But I think that after watching this match and after we play tested so many games, we did change the deck list up after this matchup, and then also after a couple other games too. So the deck is getting a little bit better as we continue to go down. But we're playing everything in OP02, so leave a comment, leave a like down below. We're going to be bringing pretty much every deck in the format in testing form, so there's going to be a bunch of different matchups. You're going to see a lot of our favorites just because that's what we like to play a lot, but we're going to be doing everything. So leave a comment, leave a like, drop a sub if you want to see all that content coming to the channel. But this is going to be Jamonster with Opus Gaming, and I'm out. Take care, guys.